Okay, guys, please turn to page 30 of your books. Page 30. Shh. Settle down. Yeah, we're going to come back to some parts of it. I'm going to jump out and jump back into the Megillah itself. Now we're going to do a few of the themes that appear in the Megillah. Primarily, those who just walked in, you're late. 2, please see me at the end so I can add you to attendance. Okay, there's a few themes we have to pick out. First theme we're going to look at is Nisim, miracles. We're going to talk about Purim and Mashiach. We're going to talk about Purim and Yom Kippur, and we're going to talk about Amalek. It's going to take us 2 or 3 classes to get there. Let's start with miracles. Please, phones away. Computers only open to blank pages, but look on page 30. We spoke about Esther, and we said that Esther's name appears in the Torah, and it is in Devarim, Lamed Aleph, Yud Chet. It is that Hashem hides himself. Va'anochi hastir astir panai, says Hashem. There are times when I hide myself. These are called times of Nes Nistar. Nes Nistar. Hidden miracles. We said the word Esther is found in the Torah in reference to this aspect of God doing hidden miracles. There's another type of miracle which is called a Nes Nigla. Nes Nigla. We're going to talk a lot more about Nisim Gluyim when we discuss Pesach, because Pesach represents the ultimate revealed miracle. This is the revealed, and this is the hidden. What does the word Nes actually mean?
I'm guessing not miracle.
It means miracle as well. It means miracle. Nisayon. What's a nisayon? A challenge, a test. Why would the word for a miracle have the same shoresh as a test, a nisayon? And we see this a lot. We know that the man was called a nisayon, a challenge. Why would a food that comes out of Shemayim, that tastes of whatever you want it to taste, why would that be a challenge? Yeah.
Because often miracles look like tests.
Why do miracles look like tests?
Because we don't understand actually what's happening. Hashem can't reveal himself. So often, what seems bad is actually for the good, or something actually great is happening, and you can't see it.
That would work well for Nes Nistar. But Nes Nigla, for a hidden miracle, you could tell me, it's a test because I don't really know what's going on. It's all hidden. I've got to double click on the event to figure out what's happening, who's behind it, how's it happening. But why would that work with a Nes Nigla? It does, but how and why? Why would that be a test? You could tell me a Nes Nistar. You read through the Megillah, all these weird coincidences. Esther has to be chosen. Mordechai has to be chosen. Achashverosh kills Vashti, picks her. I mean, there's so many Bigsan and Teresh. There's so many stories. So I hear in Nes Nistar, there's a certain challenge that comes with the events. But Nes Nigla? What's up with that? Yeah?
If something is so obvious, or something is so just looks like it's going great, you're not thinking, oh, this is God doing it. This is me, or
Very good. Very good. When you see a Nes Nigla, right, sometimes it's so fantastical, right, that you don't really get impacted by it so much. Maybe it repeats itself. Maybe it doesn't really affect you. Or maybe you'll see it, and then a day later, you will kind of just write it off. Think of a time in your life where you experienced something unbelievable that was life-changing, which I'm sure even at your age, what are you, 19, 20, 21, you saw something unbelievable, and then a day or two, it's it's like childbirth, right? God willing, b'sha'at tov, you'll all give birth at the right time. And I was present for 5 of them, Baruch Hashem, not mine, my wife's. And you'll kind of be there and you'll be like, wow, this is unbelievable. And then the nurse is there and she's taking a footprint and doing all. And I'm like, why isn't she affected? Why am I crying? She's not affected by it. Well, it's not her kid. But why is she not moved by the experience? Because the nurse and the doctor see this every single day, all the time. So, I mean, is that a Nes Nistar, Nes Nigla? I mean, for me it's a Nes Nigla, but it's so common that it loses its impact on what are you going to do about it. Yeah?
So can you give a different example of actually what's a Nes Nistar and a Nes? Like what's just like the
Okay,
splitting of this?
we live at a time now of Nes Nistar. God, as it were, hides himself behind the rules of nature. So when events happen, you may say, wow, it's a miracle. Yeah, to you maybe it is, but not to the general population of the world. You have to see something in it, right? So a Nes Nistar is a kind of miracle where the laws of nature are not upturned. Are we following? That's what a Nes Nistar is. Nes Nigla is Pesach, Chanukah, right? By the way, we'll do something very interesting for a second. Even the toys we play with on Chanukah and Purim. So this is Mo Chanukah, yeah? That's a revealed miracle. Nes Nigla, right? The lights lasted for 8 days. There's enough oil for 1 day. And Nes Nistar is Purim, which is why we're mentioning it. What? Shalma. Shal Purim. So that's the question. What's the miracle of Purim? Right? So the answer is the Jewish people are about to be wiped out. And it happens to be that Mordechai is there at the right time, the right place. He oversees Bigthan and Teresh. Esther is chosen as queen over hundreds, if not thousands of people. Right? That her plan to do it. So it's miraculous, but we see it as hidden. We can see that Hashem is running the events without changing the rules of nature of Teva. That's what we're saying over here. Yeah, Maya.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what if there are there really no examples of just coincidence? Is really everything.
So we see great. We don't see.
Just happens to be there at the right time.
You're saying it good. Maya, we don't believe in coincidence Judaism. Everything is Yad Hashem. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all God deciding the actions. Whether you see Hashem in it or not is your challenge when it comes to a Nes Nistar. That's your decision.
Is
you looking to find God's... Let me give you a good example. Sorry, 1 second, Lisa, I'm going to come to you, I promise. You know what, let's do you now, actually, because I'm going to forget. Go on.
Okay. So I still don't understand what miracle and test have to do with each other.
Okay. So why is the word miracle and test together? So we said, thanks for asking. When it comes to Nes Nistar, it's do you see Hashem behind the events to realize HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the events that are happening. That's in terms of a Nes Nistar. Nistar means hidden. That means the laws of nature are not being upturned. Nes Nigla is, the test is, you've seen this amazing event, what are you going to do about it? Right? For example, Yisro, right? He heard about all the events that happened to the Jewish people. He did something about it. He actually joined the Jewish people. Everyone else heard about it. They did nothing. He had a test, and he passed it. He changed his life based upon these events. Amalek, we're going to talk about them because they feature strongly here, are the ultimate do nothing when something unbelievable happens. You can show them the greatest evidence of Hashem's fingerprint, and they don't do anything about it. Becca, can you close the door, please, Becca? Are you understanding?
Yeah.
So that's one understanding. So what is being upturned? It's Teva. Teva is nature. How much do you put stock into the natural event? The word Teva, as well as being a sandal company and an Israeli pharmaceutical company that's not doing so well, Teva means nature. Teva, nature. The natural cycle of events. The word Teva has two related words. Matbeya, which is not a word you hear too often nowadays, but it actually means a coin. So the word teva is related to the word for a coin, and tavo is to sink.
Wait. I thought matbeach was a...
Not matbeach, a matbeya. A matbeya is a coin. A coin. Why would the word for nature, listen carefully, be the same word for a coin? Remember, a miracle is the upturning of nature. We're getting rid of nature. The natural cycle is being uprooted. Why would a coin be the same as teva? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu has an imprint on the world, and his imprint is the natural world. So we see it, and we say, nature decides, like atheists say that. Nature decides it. If they're very religious, Mother Nature, That's the Haredi atheist, right? So they say the coin is an imprint. But the word teva also means to sink in. Because you could sink into the world and see that you don't see imprint of Hashem. So the word nature is the natural events that happen in this world. Right? Sun goes up, sun goes down. Right? The wind blows. Trees just grow. There's a natural cycle. So we say, no, that's an imprint, like a coin is embossed with an image that gives it its value. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, puts his imprint on this world. Sometimes Hashem, Nes Nigla, upturns that and changes nature in order to make a point. Sometimes Hashem does not give us this merit and gives us Nes Nistar, where he says, you have to dig a little bit deeper. You've got to go behind the curtain. You're going to have to unwrap, reveal. We said Megillat Esther is Megala Esther, to reveal that which is hidden. Of the two, which is greater, Nes Nistar or Nes Nigla? Which is better? If you have a choice, would you prefer hidden miracles or revealed miracles?
Revealed, but obviously hidden are more.
Because revealed is better, right? It makes a bigger Kiddush Hashem.
But it means more if you see it.
But it means more if you work and figure it out. Very good, Alex. It makes a lot more. We actually know, Leo just hinted at it, that when Mashiach comes, there's two possible types of miracle we are going to see with the Mashiach's arrival. He can come miraculously, like Rashi says, the Beit HaMikdash coming out of Shemayim, or he can come mundanely, like an Ani Ruchev al Chamor, says the Prophet, like a poor person riding on a donkey. That's not good. You don't want that version. He's still coming, but that's the Prophet's way of saying the non-miraculous. By the way, both those versions we're going to see are dependent upon us, whether we merit Nes Nigla or Nes Nistar. Of the two, Nes Nigla is better. Of the two, Nes Nigla is better. It's more exciting, there's more going on, right? It makes a bigger Kiddush Hashem. The entire world hears about it. When the sea split, 7 days after we left Egypt, when the Yam Suf split, the entire world knew about it. Every water in the whole world split. Whether that's literal or not, it's a good question. But everyone knew about it. It's as though every water in the world. Some say, no, literally, every water in the entire world split. You're in the bath in England or France or China, the water split. There was some kind of change in the nature of reality. Lisa.
Is Teva the same thing as Noah's Ark?
So it's different lettering, but it's related. It's related in the sense that because the ark sinks in, so it is related, yeah. Yeah, very good. But the word Teva actually means the natural cycle. There are two toys, one second. There are two toys we play with on Purim, Nes Nistar, the hidden holiday, and a toy we play with on Hanukkah, Nes Nigla. What are the two toys we play with? So, on Hanukkah we play with the dreidel. I made it out of clay. When it's dry and dreidel I shall play. And on Purim we play with the Gragor or the Rashan, the noise maker. So even the toys we use on the holidays represent this. Look carefully. What makes the Graga, the Rashan, spin? The hand is underneath, it's hidden, and it turns around the events. Hashem's hand is hidden underneath, and the events turn around. The dreidel, the hand, comes from on top, says the Midrash, and it spins it, so you see Hashem's hand is revealed, but both ways, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hand, as it were, is turning the events. But one is revealed, the Chanukah dreidel, and one, the hand is hidden, the Purim Graga or Ra'ashan, noise maker. Let's go a little bit deeper for a second. There is a very famous Gemara in Tanit, which every, good yeshiva boy learns. And it goes like this. It goes about a great miracle man in Jewish history, which most of you have probably never heard of, but he was one of the greatest miracle men in Jewish history. His name was Hanina ben Dosa. Hanina ben Dosa. That's Choni Amagal. This is Hanina ben Dosa. He was also a great miracle maker. Hanina ben Dosa was a person they used to go to when they needed miracles. It was a big prayer, by the way. Interestingly, of the alternative between the great prayer people, and Torah people, when they wanted miracles, they went to the people who prayed more. They had more zchut because of their tefillah than the greatest Torah learners and Talmid Chachamim, Torah geniuses. It's interesting that the prayer person, they have a closer influence on Hashem because they're constantly speaking. So when they had problems, they went to the prayer person. Hanina ben Dos is one of these people. So the story is told. I don't know the famous story. Did I mention this class before? I don't think I did. About his daughter who had to light Shabbat lights. So what does she do? She goes Erev Shabbat to buy oil for the Shabbat lights. What does she buy? Vinegar by mistake. Vinegar by mistake. Last year's class mentioned it. She buys vinegar. It's Erev Shabbat. She's about to light the candles. And her father sees her crying. He goes, why are you crying? She goes, because I didn't buy oil. I bought vinegar by mistake. Listen very carefully. This is the Gemara. I bought vinegar instead of oil. So he says, well, what's the big deal? Just light it. And she's like, yeah, but vinegar, Abba, doesn't burn. It's not combustible. Oil burns, but we have no oil. I can't do the mitzvah of hadlakat neirot. So he's like, I don't understand your point. The same God that says oil can burn can make vinegar burn. So she lit the lights, and the vinegar burned, and it stayed lit all of Shabbat. He was able to light the Havdalah candle off the flames Motzei Shabbat. But that's a great sign of a Tzedeket. It happened to Sarah Meinu. Her lights lit all of Shabbat until Motzei Shabbat. You know you're a Tzedeket if your Shabbat lights all of Shabbat. I once said that, and a girl bought Yatzai candles for Shabbat. That's cheating. You got to use regular lights that last a couple of hours, that last all of Shabbat. If they do, see me. Okay, so that's the end of the Gemara. What a strange Gemara. What was Hanina ben Dosa telling his daughter? Listen very carefully. It's very applicable to Purim and to Pesach, which we're going to follow up. Hanina ben Dosa was saying, you, my dear daughter, and all of us that read the Gemara, see the world in two different ways. Miracle, Nes, and Teva, nature. And the two are completely separate. He's saying, I don't see it that way. The two are together. Nes and Teva. One thing, the fact the natural world even works is itself a miracle. It's all one thing. This answers a great question of why we don't see miracles today. The answer is in this story of Purim, Pesach, and Hanina ben Dosa. Why do we not see open miracles today? And the answer is because we don't have people at the level of Hanina ben Dosa who saw everything as a miracle. Let me explain. Imagine you go to let's do a costume party. It's, a Purim class. You go to a costume party and you see someone wearing a gorilla outfit. Gorilla head, gorilla body. And you walk over to them and you're like, who is that? And they're like, right? You're like, is that, I don't know, Maya? Right? Is that Alex? Right? Is that Michal? And eventually, there is, it's Rabbi Hadjioff. I'm like, yeah, that's right. What do? I take the mask off. You don't keep the mask on and keep making stupid noises. I'm like, stop, I know who you are. Hashem created a mask on the world, and it's called Teva. It's the mask. That's why we wear masks on Purim. And when a person sees the miracles, he sees Hashem is behind the mask is taken off, and they have the ability to do miracles. That's the secret. Who is able to perform miracles? The person who sees Hashem behind the mask. That's the concept the rabbis. That's what Hanina ben Dosa was telling his daughter. That is what Mordechai and Esther were doing when they hid all the story inside the Megillah. They're like, there's a mat. That's why there's so much costume reference in the Megillah. That's why we get dressed up on Purim. That's why Yaakov dressed up as Esav in order to take the barachot from his father. Yep, it was all about that. Yitzchak, it's all about, am I going to be able to see Hashem, when you see Hashem behind the mask, Hashem takes the mask off. What's the mask? Nature, and you could do miracles. So when Mashiach comes, we're going to see, are we going to be able to take the mask, see Hashem behind all the events, which is harder with Nes Nistar, or do we say, it's all miraculous, and Hashem says, fine, you know it's me behind the scenes, I can take my mask off, and the laws of nature do not apply to you anymore. That's the difference. Do you get the concept? Questions, thoughts, comments? Are you still following, or you've traveled off somewhere? Yeah, Maya.
Like also, I keep telling people, I'm like, I didn't realize that the Purim story wasn't that PG. Like I grew up with the most basic like story.
Yeah, they're not going to tell your average 7-year-old little girl,
Yeah,
right, what was really happening in Achashverosh's palace.
Yeah, I just thought literally it was like a fashion, like, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't really like know, but can you also say that like they put on a mask with like the Purim story also? That, like,
They did.
that they hid,
Mordechai and Esther sanitized it.
Yeah.
They sanitized the story in the Megillah. The Gemara and the Midrashim open it up because they were able to, because Achashverosh was not privy to the oral Torah. He was privy to the Torah and the Nevi'im and the prophets, right? When he heard Jeremiah the prophet say we'd be in Galut for 70 years, he heard that, he understood it, and he started to track the time. Remember we said that? So he was aware of that, but he was not aware of the Torah Shabba'al Peh. Who is the enemy of all of yeah? Sure. Say what? Net is revealed miracles, like when nature is upturned. Like Hanina Mendoza experienced a Nes Nigla, right? Why? Because he was at the level where he was able to understand, and for him there was no nature miracle. They're all one thing, not two separate things. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts a mask on this world called nature, the natural world. The non-miraculous. Things just work. The sun goes up, sun goes down. We see the sun go up, we're going to be like, wow, the sun's gone up. We're like, we don't do that. We're like, yeah, the sun goes up. By the way, it's interesting that both Moshe Rabbeinu and Yoshua were able to keep the sun in the sky for a certain amount of time, longer than normal. They were not even held by the natural order of the world. They were able to upturn it. Yeah? Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, who's the opposite of all this? Amalek. Let's talk about Amalek for a few minutes, because they feature heavily in this story, and they're going to feature, and they are featuring, right before Mashiach comes. Mashiach's job, we're going to see, is to rid the world of Amalek. So once again, we look at the words. The name itself is going to reveal something to us. Remember that? We did Haman in Gan Eden. We did Achashverosh. We did Esther. We did Mordechai. And now we're going to do the nation of Amalek. So who exactly are Amalek? So Amalek are a nation which come from Esav, and they still exist and will exist until Mashiach comes. Actually, one of the proofs that Mashiach is Mashiach, he's going to eradicate this nation. So what are they? We're jumping around a little bit, but the Amalek is on page 33, 34 in your books, if you want to follow in your books. So I'm not going to go through every source directly, but I'll refer to them. So Amalek are a nation that are defined by what I like to call Malika. Malika Amalek. What's Malika? Anyone know? Malika? I hope there's no Jewish name Malika, although it's a beautiful thing actually. Malika is actually a korban that was brought, actually it's the way of performing shchita of a korban. The Kohanim used to sharpen their nails on their thumb, and there used to be a little bird. They would bring us a korban in the Mishkan and Beit HaMikdash, and they would cut the neck. They would cut the neck of this korban. Okay? That's called Malika. It's in the Torah. It's in the Torah. And then this animal, right, like most korbanot were usually eaten by the bringer. Some were given to most korbanot were eaten by the bringers, right? And some were burnt up on the Mizbeach as a gift to Hashem, kivichal as it were, and given to the Leviim and the Kohanim so they could eat it. That's how they used to support themselves. Okay?
So it's the way you cut something?
It's the way you cut something. It's the separation, in this case, of head and body. Okay? So stick with me. We're going somewhere over here. This is going to help us understand Amalek. Head and body. What does that mean? The separation of head and body. So the head is the place of the brain, and the body is the home of the neshama, but the heart, the emotional. Okay? The emotions. They, Amalek, are the masters of being extremely smart. They have the head, but there's a separation of their emotions. They remove any emotional connection, and they can act with extreme savagery whilst being, yes, I'm talking about Amalek, whilst being extremely smart. The most recent clear example that most rabbis agree on the Nazis. Very smart. They weren't idiots, not some kind of like crazy people, end of the world who are like, savages. They were very, very smart. I think I read, my last trip to Auschwitz, someone pointed out to me, I need to verify this, how many of the top SS leaders had PhDs. These were smart individuals. They weren't idiots, but they acted with great evil savagery. Whenever you see people who act like that, you know you're dealing with Amalek. Smart people, but they act with tremendous savagery, and they're different opinions, but most say they are the world's first atheists. They go against Hashem. They hate God and spirituality. It's their kryptonite. They cannot stand it. They cannot stand it. Their mission is one mission. Kill Jews. That's it. Egyptians, no. We want Jews to work for us. We'll torture them. We'll kill some. But we need them. Midian, all the other nations of the world, they don't like us because maybe they're jealous of us. They want our property. We don't like that, but we get it. Amalek, it's illogical. It's like a phobia against Jewish people. They despise us so much, they're willing to put all their resources, their money, their time, and their effort to kill the Jewish people. Like the Nazis during the Second World War. Right? They're fighting a war on all four fronts, and they're spending all their time and resources, right, killing Jews and putting them in the concentration camp. But that's what are you doing? That's where the rabbis always point out, and I have a proof from the Vilna Gaon and others that it's part of the prophecy that Germany Germania was Amalek. They are Amalek. We're seeing Amalek today. Now, they're not a unified nation. They're spread out around the world into different nations. Lahavdil, like the Jewish people are. We're one nation, but we're spread out. Amalek are the same thing. They can appear in France, they can appear in Russia, they can appear in England, they can appear in America, they can appear in New York. Right? Usually they hide in the shadows, but sometimes they rise up like Haman, or like his great-great-great-grandfather Agag, or his great-great-grandfather, the original Amalekites, that we first met when the Jewish people left Egypt. When the Jewish people left Egypt, we want to hide. Everyone was scared of us. No one wanted to attack us. And then a few days later, come along this nation Amalek, and they, kind of knowing full well it was a suicide mission. They are the suicide people. Kill myself in order to kill the Jewish people. That is a classic trait of Amalek. Amalek is, I'm willing to kill myself. That's how much I hate them. I'll give up everything I can. Haman was willing to kill himself, to give up all his money and time in his own life just to kill one Jew, Mordechai.
So is that then, can you then apply that to, like, for example, like the Palestinian protesters, all those people now who are practically saying
Okay.
death, but
I hear this a lot. So the short answer is most of them are idiots who don't even know what they're talking about. Let's be honest. They're like, Hamas, ceasefire, all this nonsense. But make no mistake, whenever you see people who are willing to kill themselves, that is a trait of Amalek. That's inside them. But they're inside other nations too. But they've all become a bulba, they've all been mixed up. So within Yishmael, that does not really feature in this story, right, we deal with Amalek, there are nowadays Amalekite traits.
That's what the same
100%. That is the trait of Amalek. And actually, the poskim say, we can't really identify Amalek, although when I was a kid, they used to say that there were rabbis, if you see Amalek, and they're real Amalek, and you know they're Amalek, and they're acting like Amalek, you got to kill them. It's a mitzvah to kill them, to preemptively get rid of them. So there's a story when I was a kid, they would say there's a rabbis who walk around Yerushalayim with their head down, because if they saw it, they would recognize, they could read on their forehead. There's a certain wisdom, you can see a person's background on the forehead, right? And someone like me has a lot of forehead, you know, you can read a lot about me. And they would see it, and they would, if they saw them, they're probably just being tsunua, right? But they would say, you know, they're being modest. But they would say that, oh, don't look at that person, because if I see that Amalek, I'm going to have to do something about it. It could be walking around Israel. Again, is that everyone that comes to attack us? No, sometimes they attack us because they want our land, they want our money, they're jealous of us. Most people are not. But Amalek are out there, they're individuals, and Mashiach's job is to rid the world of this absolute evil. Okay, so that's the external nation Amalek people, and they separate everybody. By the way, Esav, what happened to Esav when he died? Was he buried?
His head was cut off.
Oh, his head was removed. Remember that? Chosh ben Dan killed him, and his head rolled into Marat HaMachpelah, because his head was good. It was the body that was the problem. His head, he was smart. So even Esav represents the father of Amalek. His head ended up being buried in Marat HaMachpelah together with the other ancestors, but his body was disposed and went somewhere else.
I thought Ishmael was the father of...
Nope. Comes from Esav.
Esav's Amalek and...
Esav, Amalek comes from Esav.
What? But Ishmael was first.
Different. Yeah. Yeah, his head was good. His head went into Marat HaMachpelah. Yeah, Lisa.
Amalek Jewish?
No. Yeah, very good. We have common ancestors, but we only became Jewish people after that event at Har Sinai. So they were from a different mishpacha, and they ended up doing the. That's why Esav married out of the family and didn't become part of the Jewish people. Yep. So Amalek is not. No, we have common ancestry. We have common ancestry with most people in the world at some point, but that's not them. Now, let's add something else over here. Amalek exists, follow carefully, within us as well. There's a little bit of Amalek in every person, right? So we learn this out from a hint of the gematria. What's the gematria of Amalek? What is the numerical value of Ayin, Mem, Lamed, Kuf? Ayin, 70. Mem, 40. Lamed, and Kuf is 100. That comes to 240. 240. I always remember that because that's the bus I used to take to yeshiva every day as a kid. I'm like, wow, it makes a lot of sense, you know what I'm saying? At the 240, you know what I'm saying? Down Brent Street all the way to Hasmo. Right, 240. Okay, I'm only kidding. But that was the number of my bus. The number 240 is another word that has the same gematria, and that is safek, doubt. Doubt. Amalek are all about sowing seeds of doubt into us as a nation. They make us doubt HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. So we left Egypt, we're doing amazingly, and we're like, Hashem's with us, right? All the miracles, all the nisim, right? Splitting of the sea, amazing time. Amalek comes and says, no, there is no God, it's all coincidence, and they seed doubts inside us. That's Amalek. That is the spiritual blemish that comes with a physical nation. So they're a physical nation, but they represent the idea of safek, putting doubt into us. Is Hashem with us? Is there a God in the world? Is there olam haba? Every doubt that comes to us vis-a-vis HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes from Amalek. They are the safek people. They love to put us in doubt. Right? Is this a coincidence? Is this really happening for a right reason? Right? Am I going to end up being successful, spiritual? Am I going to matter? All the doubts that come with Olam Hazeh come from Amalek. And remember, it all comes from Esav, and we said it all comes from Gan Eden because Haman name appears in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden. Hamina Eitzazeh. Once they ate from the forbidden tree, doubt started to increase. says the Ramchal. Until that point, they could see Hashem much, much clearer. There was much less doubt. Pretty much no doubt. Everything was very clear. They eat from Hamin Hazeh, from that species of tree in the Garden of Eden, and suddenly it's not all black and white, it's very grey. Things are very, very grey. It's hard to know when, where, how, why. So Amalek, and in our story, Haman, remember Haman has a problem? What is he? He is Mr. Mikra. Write that down. He's Mr. Mikra. Asher Karahu. It's all happenstance. That's why it says that Amalek Karacha Baderech. They happened upon you in the desert. What do you mean they happened upon us? They saw us, they came to attack us. They're all about happenstance. It happens to be they found the Jewish people. It's all coincidence. Mikra. Happenstance. It just happened. Right? Makara. What happened? There's no reason behind it. It just happens. Right? The world is here because it just happens. There's no God. They're all about happenstance. That's what Amalek are all about. They're the ultimate happenstance. Zakara. Zakara. Lama zakara. Zakara. Right? And that's why inside the word kara is kar, which is cold, we said. Cold. Right? They cooled us down. After leaving Mitzrayim, we were excited and we were on fire. Not literally, but we were on fire from, leaving Egypt on our way to Har Sinai, and then they cool things down, they cool us down. Rashi gives the famous mashal of a hot bath. This is Rashi. Rashi takes this car almost literally and says it's like a hot bath. The first person that jumps in gets burned, but then the water cools down. They were willing to burn themselves, to die in a suicide mission because they came to attack us. We went to war, and remember that Moshe Rabbeinu held up his hands. Remember that story? Yeah. Right? And Hor and Yeshua held his hands up. When the hands were up, basically, what is that metaphor? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us. And when the Jewish people saw his emunah, actually it says his hands were ne'eman. It doesn't mean his hands believed, his hands were faithful. So they saw that, they won the war. How do you fight the war against Amalek? Emunah. How do we bring Mashiach? How do we kill Amalek at the end of days? Emunah. What's the challenge today? Emunah. We don't have enough faith. We don't believe. We don't put enough faithfulness in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We think it just happens. It doesn't just happen. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a tiny bit off topic, but I don't understand why Hashem would make them. Like, is it to make us...
Very good. So, you're asking a good question. I don't know the answer to that question, right? Why did Hashem put them in the world in the first place? To a sense, we created them. Adam and Chava, when they ate from that tree, that's when it really started to come out. But if there's good in the world, there's got to be bad. Not have free will, and this is the pushback. They are the evil that pushes back. There's no greater evil than Amalek. That is what you need to get out of this. They want to kill us. They want to sow seeds of doubt. They want to cool down our connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? Which is why they have to be still out there, because once they're gone, Mashiach comes. That's it. That's it. It's done. Which is probably why we're going to see that all the books of Tanakh are going to disappear when Mashiach comes. Not the Torah, but all the other books, because they're describing the arrival of Mashiach. But Megillat Esther will always be there, Leolam, it says, even after Mashiach comes. That means that we're going to see aspects of the Megillah that are messianic. This is one of them, the destruction of Amalek. We're going to be celebrating the destruction of Amalek, celebrating it as a past event. That hasn't happened yet. We're still in Galut. Amalek is still there. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Megillat Esther is the only book that's going to still be around. Torah and Megillat Esther. That's the Rambam says that. I do not know what the holiday is going to be like, but it's going to be there. It's going to be a Purim fest. Yeah.
What does the destruction of Amalek look like?
Or two things. Good question here. What does the destruction of Amalek look like? So we have two aspects. First, we have the people. They're gone. They don't exist. There's going to be a war. There's going to be a war. We're going to fight them. We're fighting aspects of them right now. But they've got to get out of the shadows. And Hashem is bringing them out of the shadows right now. Oh yeah. You see that, right? No one denies that. They're going to be gone as a people. But their outlook in this world, this suffix gone as well. Right? When the prophets say when Mashiach comes, The knowledge of Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to mechasas haaretz, going to cover the land, just like the oceans, right, cover the earth. So the knowledge of God is going to be, everyone's going to believe in God. No more religions. All religions have gone. Everyone's going to believe in the one true God of Israel. So the suffix gone as well. So there's two aspects to Amalek. There's the physical, and then there's the spiritual battle. We're fighting two battles at the same time. These people represent even nations today, right? America, it's a physical nation for physical people, but it represents, democracy and freedom. You can have a nation that represents something. And when people fight that nation, they're fighting the principles of that nation as well. That's why they attack us. They don't like our principles, not just the people in it. The Jewish people represent a Kadosh Baruch Hu. When you fight the Jewish people, you're actually fighting Hashem.
So is it possible that you have someone who's like a part of Amalek, let's say in Costa Rica or something, and like the internal...
Look at Michal's face. It's like, how did Costa Rica end up over here?
The first place that the internal like suffix is gone and their bodies are still there, or is it like a physical like?
No, it's a physical one too. The Rambam, it's a good question. The Rambam says that if they don't act like Amalek, then you don't need to kill them. They have to act like Amalek. But Mashiach is going to have to get rid of them. He's going to figure out, he's going to know who they are. They're going to come and attack him. In Eretz Yisrael, around Yerushalayim specifically. Yeah.
How do you know that specifically?
What?
Like, specifically when it's going to happen? Like how are they going to know for sure that that's the one that's being destroyed?
Oh, so, well, that's Mashiach's job. He's going to actually, it's two things. First of all, it's his job. And two, it's the proof that he is a Mashiach by wiping out Amalek. And the Rambam says in the Laws of Kings, Hilchot Malachim, he's going to fight Milchamot Hashem, the wars of God. That's how you put. That's what the Rambam, who's actually the only person who gives us halachot of Mashiach, says that's the proof that he is Mashiach by wiping out Amalek.
I thought it was bringing the Beit HaMikdash.
He's that too. You have to build a Beit HaMikdash. He's going to bring the Jewish people from all over the world. Mi'arba Kanfot Haaretz, right? Kibbutz Galiot. But wiping out Amalek are number 4 and 5 of the 8 things that we know are Mashiach's test to prove that he is Mashiach. That's why we're seeing the rise of Amalek so brazenly and blatantly in our generation, because this is the Messianic generation, if you ask me.
That the Palestinians aren't Amalek.
I said Amalek exists within other nations. Among them are Amalek. I remember there was a suicide attack when I was in yeshiva. I was a single boy in Eretz Yisrael, and there was a Rabbi Bullman, whose son actually is one of my kids' teachers now in Israel. And he got up on a Friday night and he said, make no mistake, that's Amalek within Yishmael. And I was like, it's 2 different nations. And he's like, yeah, because they've infiltrated. When you ever see, and actually Rav Soloveitchik, like of why, he said, whenever you see people try to kill us for no good reason, they become our enemies, want our absolute destruction. We treat them as though they're Amalek, and you're allowed to defend yourself and wipe them out. Yeah.
So basically, you said that he has to like kill Amalek and then like build the Beit HaMikdash.
Yes. You cannot have the Beit HaMikdash with Amalek still standing, I don't think. It doesn't make sense. They're two complete, it's like 2 complete contradictions. The Beit HaMikdash is all about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name being spread through the entire world. Actually, I had a great share last night, I'm halfway through it, by a great rabbi in Eretz Yisrael, from Feidowitz, about why we don't build the 3rd and final Beit HaMikdash right now. By the way, how did this story end, the Purim story end? Sorry. We go back to Israel and build the 2nd Beit HaMikdash. And what's going to happen after this Galut? We're going to go back to Israel and build the 3rd Beit HaMikdash. It's another reflection. Write that down, I forgot about it. Sorry, Maddie.
And then also, like, if I thought that somebody that built the Beit HaMikdash isn't allowed to have blood on his hands.
Okay, that's a very good question. We know that, that's a great question. We know that Shlomo HaMelech built the Beit HaMikdash, his father David, because he was he had to go to war. So they answer that a few ways. I've heard that question many times before. Rav Breidowitz answers it and says that's one opinion, that's why the Beit HaMikdash will come down whole. He won't have to build it himself. Or these will be mitzvah wars, not milchemet reshut, milchemet mitzvah, and those ones you can. David HaMelech was involved in milchemet reshut, voluntary ones, to overtake territory, which itself was okay. Right? This is milchemet mitzvah. It's a different type of different type of war in terms of Torah wars. So mandated wars. That's okay.
And then also, you couldn't, like, for example, like in the Holocaust, like
It did happen, but they're still out there. They weren't totally wiped out, were they? A lot end up fleeing to Argentina. Totally wiped out. Not a single remnant. The Torah says Hashem's throne is not connected until Mashiach's arrival, and Amalek are totally eradicated. Amalek the people, and Amalek the philosophy. The philosophy of Amalek. We suffer from the philosophy. We are infiltrated. We've all been infiltrated, rabbis. I mean, a lot of Jews, most Jews, unfortunately, sadly enough, right? That's why we see these Jews taking the side of our enemies. These are the suicide Jews. It's complete majnun. They feel a divana. Yeah.
I have 2 questions. Number 1, was Ishmael himself Amalek?
No, Ishmael was not Amalek. Ishmael is his own person. He did teshuvah, and we don't treat Ishmael as Amalek. There is good in Ishmael, and there's bad. Amalek are purely bad. That line are pure evil. Ishmael is not such a thing. You can make peace with Ishmael. And we are. We're making peace with the good inside Ishmael. You cannot make peace with Amalek. They don't want peace. They want destruction. You can give them everything you want. They can have all the money. You can give them all the land. Give whatever you want. Amalek wants to destroy physically and spiritually through safek, by casting doubt of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God in this world. There is no negotiation with Amalek.
Can somebody become Amalek?
No. They can join them. They can be like, well, I'll jump on the bandwagon. They can do that. Unfortunately, the Jews are going to end up supporting Amalek. Crazy, right? Who would have thought? Yeah.
Can you explain those 2 different levels of how you said
It's not
that
level,
there's the
2 different
physical-
aspects, not levels, 2 different aspects. One is the physical nation that want to kill us, but there's also, it's like the Nazis were a people, but then there's Nazi ideology. You know what I'm saying? There's 2 things. Can people join Nazi ideology and believe in now being Nazis? Yeah, probably. Right? A person could believe in Nazi ideology while not being a Nazi themselves. Like, oh yeah, I get it, I kind of hear it. Right? You're not a Nazi, you're not out killing people and, starting concentration camps.
Everyone
But
in
I
Germany.
disagree with that because it's not you're a Nazi based on the only reason why you alleged that you did is because of what you.
No, so every Nazi has a Nazi ideology, but not everyone who ascribes a Nazi ideology ends up going around killing people. They may want to see our destruction, but they're not actually going out. When I say Nazi, I mean they're actually going out killing people. Amalek have an ideology, and they're out practicing this ideology by trying to actually actively kill us. Yeah. Sounds like an extreme example, but that's who we see. Amalek are extremists. Right? The Egyptians, you're allowed to have Egyptians convert to Judaism. You're allowed to have Midianites and Moab. There's a time, right? Well, not Moab, but a Moaviah, right? You can have. That's what Ruth, a female Moabite, like Ruth, David Amelech's great-great-great-great-grandmother. So she can end up. So these were bad people, but we allow converts from these nations because they don't like us, they want to kill us, but it kind of makes sense. It's unpleasant, but I kind of get it. Amalek, no. There's 0 threshold. 0. You cannot take as far as I know, you can't take a convert from Amalek, as far as I know. Although there are families in Israel whose descendants converted to Judaism and their grandparents were Nazis. There's a family, there was actually a great interview I read in a magazine about a year ago, of religious family, blonde-looking Hasidic family. They were all converts, and they went to visit their grandfather back in Germany, and he was an old Nazi. Was he really an old Nazi? Did he just join them, And imagine that family conversation. And they actually reunited. They had photos of this old Nazi, right, with his Hasidic child or grandchild and great-grandchildren, whatever it was. Unbelievable. You can see it online. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. One of Mashiach's jobs is to use a certain form of prophecy called Vehericho et Yirat Hashem, that he's going to be able to sniff out if a person is a Jew or not a Jew, and if they're not, they'll have an opportunity to convert. If they want to, don't have to. And which Shevet you come from, Kohen Levi Yisrael, or if you're part of the Jewish people at all. There's a certain form of Nevuah that they use as a litmus test to see if you are Mashiach. Bar Kochba, the Gemara says, was tested when he said he's Mashiach, and he failed the test, and he died. Some say they killed him. That's the smell test. Yashai Hanavi, as the prophet says, Vericho Beirat Hashem. Huh? I see people all the time. They say they're Jewish, they're not Jewish. Or say I'm not Jewish, and they are Jewish. Or they think they're a Kohen or not. I've taken people to cemeteries in Warsaw, and the guy's like, oh, here's my great-great-grandfather on my father's side, and his hands are like this. I'm like, you better get out of the cemetery, dude. You're a Kohen. And I know people with the last name Cohen who are not. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's all mabulbal. It's all been lost. So one of Mashiach's jobs somehow is to, I think it's going to be genetic testing, by the way. It's improving all the time, and that's what it's referring to. That's what it's referring to. As in genetically, you can see already the Cohen gene, not Cohen gene, it's going to get much better. That's my opinion. Don't shoot the messenger.
They're going to find out that that's the Mashiach?
No. That's the mechanism by which we're going to find out who is Jewish, who is not Jewish. Cohen, Levi, Yisrael. That could become a lot more sensitive. It's getting better all the time, yeah. They use it right, I'm saying, they use it right now in the Rabbanut. I read an interview. The Rabbanut in Eretz Yisrael right now use genetic testing not as the absolute proof, but in addition to other proofs that a person is Jewish. Because all these people turn up from Russia, Ukraine. I'm Jewish. Who says? My mother's Jewish. Who says? Right, cemetery plot. This is the ketubah. Right, cemeteries are a good place to figure out if someone's actually Jewish or not. And they do genetic testing, and they use that as an extra tool, but not exclusively yet. Yet. They will, I think. Sorry, Becca.
Do all Jews go to Mashiach?
What does all Jews go to Mashiach mean?
Like my dad would say that if you're not a good Jew, you can be reincarnated as an animal.
Okay, reincarnation and Mashiach, two very different topics. So we'll leave that aside. You're confusing Tchiat HaMeitim, resurrection of the dead, which happens after, some say way after Mashiach's arrival, with Mashiach's two different time periods, two different concepts that follow one after the other. No, it's not. It's two, that's why the Rambam lists Mashiach as principle number 12 of the Ikrei Emunah, principles of faith, and Tchiat HaMeitim is number 13. It's two separate things. Whoever is alive when Mashiach comes will see Mashiach.
Oh, so not everybody sees Mashiach?
No, people who are dead. After Tchiat HaMeitim, at some point much later,
but will everybody come back from the dead?
Emes Hashem.
There's a lot of uncertainty around.
As humans. Huh?
There's a lot of uncertainty around that.
Yeah, it's not uncertainty. It's not uncertainty because we don't know the way it's going to happen. The prophets never speak about it. There's a little bit, there's a few verses written about it. There's not much written about it. Mashiach, we have tons written on. It's a principle of our faith. Actually, he was criticized. I just read this morning. Weird. He was criticized for not talking enough about it, and then he wrote a whole book, right, on Tchiat HaMeitim, right, his treatise on Tchiat, and says, no, it's absolutely true. He made it one of the 30 principles of faith. It's one of the Ikrei Emunah, which means if you don't believe in it, you're not part of the Jewish people. God bless you. You're still Jewish, but you're not part of the Jewish people. You don't believe in resurrection of the dead. He lists it as one of the 13 principles. But we don't have too much about it. We don't know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. We know very little about it.
I just imagine Harry Potter.
And Hogwarts. Fantastic. If that's the way you want to imagine it, Becca, it's all yours.
Thank you.
There will be schools of prophecy, though.
Stop.
There were schools of prophecy. You say that. Flying owls, wands, funny hats.
I don't know if you're being serious.
There used to be, no, I'm joking about that, but there were schools of prophecy.
So Hogwarts can exist in real life. To what point? Okay. Well, I'm so excited.
Yes. Just don't call it Harry Potter. It's not Harry Potter. It's Harry Potter. Harry Potter. It's like, give me a water. It's not a water.
What is it?
It's water. Learn English. Yeah. Mashiach is what? Okay, they can say whatever they want. He is coming. It's the principle of faith. What? If you deny Mashiach and you deny it, do you get Olam Haba? Depends who that person is. If they're an ignorant person, then they are not halkal. But if they're a smart person and they deny it, that's problematic. That's problematic. Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Will Messiah HaMesim be like in the world, or will it be up
Here, in this world.
So
Tcheta
all
Meitim
the
happens here.
die down?
Gan Eden is where souls go to when a person dies.
So it's like another life after life, and they're going to have another
Correct. Life after life. Correct. Nicely put.
Life,
Nicely
life.
put. Okay, so we did. How long do we have? A few more minutes. We did Amalek. Yeah. We did Nissim. We did the fact that Purim is eternal. Turn to page 32. Just see that inside. That's one piece you need to see inside, if you don't mind. That is based a midrash based upon Jeremiah the prophet, chapter 16, verse 14 to 15. The midrash says, "Shekol ha'moadim yu b'telim." All the Jewish holidays are going to be nullified. No more Tisha B'Av. Woo! No more. I don't know. Tzom Gedalia. All gone. No more Pesach. No more. Oh, hold your Yom Kippur. Hold your Yom Kippur. We're going to get to Purim later. For now, this one. Look at the midrash. Look at. It's not me. I'm just reading out what it says over here. Shekol ha'moadim yu b'telim. All the Jewish holidays are going to be nullified. Umei Purim, but Purim lo yu niftalin leolam is never going to be nullified. Shneimar, as it says in the book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 28. V'yemei Purim ha'ela. These days of Purim. Lo yavru, are not going to leave mitoch hayudim, for the Jewish people. Zichram, its memory. Lo yosif mizaram, is never going to be lost. Meaning even after Mashiach's arrival, it's always going to be there. Yom Kippur as well, but Yom Kippur is going to be different as well. One second, let's just do Jeremiah the prophet, and he says, therefore days are coming. Yam ba'im, Num Hashem says God. And people are not going to say, wow, God took the Jewish people out of Egypt. Right? That's like so 2448. That's so Yetzias Mitzrayim. People aren't going to talk about that. What are they going to talk about? The coming of Mashiach. Wow, what an amazing redemption the Jewish people went through. And therefore, we won't talk about Pesach anymore because that galut is not relevant anymore. That redemption is not relevant anymore because we went through a much greater geula, redemption, and that's Mashiach's arrival. That's what the prophet Jeremiah is saying. People will no longer talk about Pesach. Why talk about Pesach? That's so old. That's why actually we're going to see when we get to the Pesach Seder, which we'll do after Purim, yeah, half of it is all about Mashiach's arrival. That's why you're inviting Eliyahu Navi to your Pesach Seder. Why are you inviting, what's Eliyahu Navi doing about Pesach Seder? As if to say, we're still celebrating the first redemption, please bring the last and final redemption. You get it? That's why there's a fifth cup. We'll see what that fifth cup represents, but it's called the Kos Shel Eliyahu, and we don't drink it because Mashiach isn't here yet. You get it? Then we're going to drink it. And that's why the cup is bigger than all the other four. And we'll see what those four represent as well.
Why does that have to be bigger?
Because it's going to be a bigger redemption. That's why the afikomen is breaking into two pieces, and the bigger piece is hidden away. As if to say the bigger piece is going to be eaten for dessert, which is what the word afikomen actually means. Yeah. Yeah. Not on me, no. Yeah.
We won't talk about Pesach because there'll be new things.
Because the redemption of Mashiach's arrival is going to be much greater, and it's going to be irrelevant. Why are you discussing that redemption? We have a much bigger and greater redemption of Mashiach. Okay? But Purim is going to exist. That's not a holiday. Shabbat is not included in this. It's not a holiday. Shabbat is a separate reality. Moedim, it's not a moed. Moedim are things that come around once a year, is a moed. Right? This is not, Shabbat is above and beyond this. When Mashiach comes, everything becomes Shabbat. That's what we say, Olam Haba is Me'en, Shabbat is Me'en Olam Haba. It is Olam Haba. You're actually entering into the ultimate Shabbat of Olam Haba.
We're still going to have like the Shalosh Regalim.
Gone! We don't need them anymore. It just says, you don't need them anymore. It's all gone. The miracles of the Shalosh Regalim, the 3 foot festivals, no more Sukkot, no more Shavuot. We're going to have the biggest revelation. I mean, maybe they'll still be there, but not the way we celebrate them now. You're not sitting there, here, bring Mashiach on Pesach Seder. So what's that? He's here. What are you still talking about? Yes, according to some, the Rambam says yes, there will be korbanot, but there will be a different reason. They won't be for sins, they'll be for other reasons. Oh yeah, because the final redemption, we still had enemies. We still had enemies. I mean, that's the big question, why we don't build the third temple right now. And that was the shir I was listening to last night. Mostly because if we build the third temple right now, what would happen? Lior, what would happen if we built the third and final temple right now on Har HaBayit, which you may be involved in? What's going to happen right now? World War III and 4 and 5. And probably 6 as well. Nachon? You can't even pray on Har HaBayit. There's a place in Israel, it's forbidden to pray. It's crazy. 100%. It's so crazy, it must be Min HaShamayim. Okay. We got it all down. We did a lot today, peeps. I hope you took notes. Okay, next class we'll do Purim, Yom Kippur connection. That'll be next class, Mr. Hashem.